Grimdark. Half off! Weird fiction factions for Fallout 4. Here's something you might not know. Fallout is a weird fiction universe. 1950s hostile UFO aliens descend upon a world filled with man-made versions of many of the monsters from our folklore. Ogres effectively become real through the FEV, creating super mutants. Mutant vampires drink the blood of their victims, and everyone effectively is succumbing to the zombie-like radiation-caused state of ghoulism. That's kind of how blood is mutating across the wasteland. While this is happening, a mysterious eldritch entity known as Qualthoth allows people to defy aging and drives people mad by its influence. Psykers are born with supernatural powers, often making them a danger to themselves and others, needing to use special devices to keep their powers contained, lest their brain becomes overwhelmed and they die, or their powers go out of control and they kill other people. It's very similar to 40k. Lastly, of course, this is all to say nothing of the dreaded Necronomicon of Fallout known as the Krivbekni. This three-way uncanny valley between horror, fantasy, and sci-fi is one of the many ways one can define the genre known as weird fiction. Of course, weird fiction can also be defined simply as not being able to have a real category. Grab a Nuka-Cola as we get ready to amp up the most underrated and unrepresented elements of the Fallout universe. The four weird fiction factions, at least the ones that aren't well represented, can be broken down into the following. Lovecraftian, meaning elements concerning Qualthoth and the Krivbekne, and any associated mad cults. 2. Zetans, or aliens, which obviously relates to the Mars Attack-style aliens you will find in the games. 3. Psykers, or the super-powered individuals of the world who often kill themselves with their own powers. 4. Mutant vampires, though admittedly we will be adding more of a magic feel to them. Though with the Lovecraftian elements, I think it blends well, especially since the mods we have in tow will have a few Elder Scrolls references to them. Starting us off, we have the essential mod for any esoteric cultist of Dagon that would make Zetan Aliens himself very proud, and that is Shrines and Gods. Coming to us from the same author as Underwater Combat, Zork has, this obviously has huge roleplay implications, as giving your character a solid religion can really help them form their motivations. However, for us, the main feature we're concerned with are the Dagon references through the Shrine of the River God, Conan reference through the Shrine of Grognak, and of course the Shrine to Qualthoth, who many theorize to be an amalgam of the Lovecraftian entities Yog-Sothoth, Nyarlathotep, and the Black Goat, who I'm still not saying the real name of on this channel for censorship purposes. They can be found under the resources/miscellaneous section when building your next settlement. I love this mod because it also adds its own very natural world building to the world. Some are deities that are mentioned rarely, like the Farmer, who is said to be one of the possible identities of the mysterious stranger from Fallout 3's guidebook, but others speak to the religious instinct in man adapting to the post-apocalyptic America. I love that so much. As a former student of evolutionary psychology, I can't help but love that Paul Revere, in a Jesus-like manner, helps you manage your addictions, and several of the gods are merely the primal deification of Deathclaws, dogs, or Mirelurks. All things past mythology would tell us humans have a very real tendency to do. The second half of our Lovecraftian mods is the quest mod Children of Qualthoth. Starting at the Forgotten Church found off the southwest coast of the main map, if you search for a hidden hatch embedded into the concrete behind a pair of bushes above the church, you will enter a sprawling new dungeon with unique enemies, game mechanics, and puzzles all related to the god in question. When one mixes this mod with the already present Dunwich questline, featuring an ageless family blessed in quotes by the Qualthoth in question, and themes of mental illness, you have very good representation of eldritch entities in Fallout 4. Moving on to the Zetan Aliens and away from the old ones, we have the very simple mod of alien encampments, which adds 6 new alien locations to fight the Zetans in. If that seems lackluster, don't worry, we're building up to something sexy. To use this next mod, you're going to need the first version of Sim Settlements, the Conqueror extension for it, the Alien Assault Rifle mod, and the Union Alien Blaster mod. Is it worth it? Well, that all depends on whether or not you want to hang out with aliens. As an uncontrollable sadist who frequently engages in unethical experiments, I enjoy trading notes with them. Zeta Invasion for Sim Settlements Conqueror extension with all patches in tow allows us to do just that. As you may have guessed from the name, this mod allows you to recruit and make an entire settlement of crash-landed aliens. While some may say this is not lore-friendly, as the Zetans are supposed to be some more sadistic, I personally love this idea. One theory theory I've always had about the Zetans is that they are most likely just like many of the intelligent humans we would meet throughout the wasteland. And in fact, if you have a bit of time travel on your hands and you do a bit of theory crafting, it's easy to assume the ancient aliens theory might be true, and that this was actually a race that was originally controlling Earth. They left and are coming back to reclaim it, but I don't really know if that's true. But even if it isn't, we have seen through the Hubologists that when it comes to the Zetan radiation that is used in your various treatments to ascend throughout that quest line, we do know that it makes you more intelligent, and that does lead me to believe that the Zetans do have that same diversity of personality, meaning just as flawed and varying in personality. Upon crashing on the Earth and being here for a long period of time, slowly running out of resources with no specialists of their own race to take them home, they would eventually have to adapt to Earth life, including language, trading, and other depressing realities of living in what is to them a giant spherical ghetto. What the Conqueror mod itself does is ensure that we will at random encounter a beautiful rebuilt settlement city by truly alien hands. And I just wanted to reiterate one point in my sort of view of this. Just because a Zetan is present does not mean the Zetan instinctively knows how to re-engineer a ship. The Zetan is a Zetan. Like, there are warriors, there are scientists, etc., etc. I don't think that every Zetan has an inherent knowledge of their own technology. Otherwise, there wouldn't really be any crash landings. In fact, crash landings would be exceedingly rare, but there's an entire DLC called Mothership Zeta based around it. Now, let's move on to dangerous Warhammer 40k style superpowers with some Psyker mods. Our first mod is a pre-alpha demo of Rise of the Psykers Project Foundation. This mod adds what seems to be some fun X-Men references, such as a frozen cryomancer super mutant, kind of like Bobby Drake, but also a new building called Underground Facility, containing many weapons and armor from old history, as well as access to a few Psyker abilities. However, they can be quite buggy, so instead we'll be going with Psyker Powers 2.0, which either by completing a quest or crafting and experimenting with a drug, you can begin your journey into the world of Psyker abilities that would make Magnus the Red say, "Good work, kid." Teleportation, force pushes, lightning blasts, and invisibility are all at your fingertips. There are a total of 20 abilities, 9 as weapons, 8 as aid, and 3 as special elemental forms. Finally, let's finish off by adding a bit of Elder Scrolls and White Wolf into our Fallout with one of my favorite mod authors for either Fallout or Skyrim, and that is Galero. Those of you who watched my lore series on Vampire the Masquerade, the compilation video of that can be found on this channel, will recognize his Modern Mansion mod for Skyrim, and in the Toreador section, many of his Fallout 4 mods. The first of his mods is Porphyric Ghoulification-Vampirism, which, as you may have guessed, adds vampirism for your character in Fallout 4. By ingesting highly irradiated blood packs from glowing enemies, you will find the world of VTM comes to your player character as soon as you gain access to the following effects: sunlight and artificial light radiation damage, feeding from blood packs and sleeping victims lest you starve to death. 4 vampire psyker abilities, finally a stat benefit to offset your sunlight damage with agility, strength, and health regen increases. Our final mod by the same author increases these effects and factionalizes them across the world through the obvious Skyrim-inspired title of Adam Guard. As the title would suggest, you can either join a vampire hunter faction, offshoot of the Children of Adam found in the Commonwealth, or you can go to Far Harbor and embrace the powers of a vampire. The Adam Guard has wonderful references to the Witcher series and, of course, the Dawn Guard of Skyrim, while the vampire faction literally has an altar to Molag Bal, while also having Blood Angel-looking 40k power armor. These all also add random encounters of both factions to the world, so you'll never feel like any of these groups are out of place. This is, to be clear, something of an overhaul because it does as a civil war to your game between vampire hunters and vampires. All mods are linked below under the timestamps.